thank you everyone for joining. Nabil will lead the presentation, and maybe I can directly hand over to you, Nabil.
Yeah, thank you very much. You can roll over the slides now. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us every month. Before we begin, you need to know that everyone is muted, and it's just to reduce the background noise. You can raise your hand if you have any questions, and of course, as usual, especially for those who are always there, just wait for the end, and then we have an open discussion. And you can always send us emails and contact us separately. You are always welcome to contact us. And this webinar is recorded. You have access to the slides. You can download the slides. You can download the recording in this URL below, customersuccess.autodesk.com/webinars. This is the team. So myself and Martin. So myself, I'm a technical specialist on the AEC with some plant background as well. And I think most of you already know me, those who are usually comes into that webinar. I have background in the oil and gas, and my colleague Martin as well, and this is the whole team. The agenda of today, we will have some news, of course, as usual. We will introduce also a bit some future elements of the product and future development as well. So we will start with the safe harbor statement, and this month theme will be the Revit product and the Plant 3D product, the pros and cons, what is better, some information that you need to know for those who don't really use both products simultaneously, and some interoperability workflow. And as I said, it's an open discussion. We really want to get also feedback from users on specific features. We will talk about these specific features, which create a lot of questions and ambiguity sometimes. However, this is the intent of that meeting, is to open the discussion. So let's start first with the safe harbor statement. As you know, we might discuss about some future stuff, or maybe some enhancement. And this safe harbor statement is just to protect everybody, not only us, but also you. And we want really to disclose that this kind of information, not to propagate any information related to future releases. And that's it. I mean, that's the only point of that safe harbor statement. So for the Plant 3D news, maybe Martin, do you want to talk a bit about that, because it's a collaboration for Plant. Yeah, I mean, I've put some information here in that slide, but you might want to comment it. It's up to you.
Yes. So for Plant 3D, we have now the choice between the EU server and the US server, and this is of course you need to have this account, the EU account and a US account, in order to be able to choose from both. So that would be something you would need to acquire before you are able to choose from it, of course, but generally we have it now. So you could use BIMS 360 docs on the US side or on the EU side to upload your Plant 3D projects and use the collaboration on it. So that's the message here.
Yeah, thanks, thanks, Martin. And one more thing maybe here is the fact you can see on the left side that all of the modules are now supported on both US and European server. So from document management to the app, so through project home inside, project admin, account admin, so everything now is available on Europeans.
Yeah, there's one limit. Actually, there's one limitation, and that's the PNID modeler.
Exactly. So all what is listed here is available in both server,
Is
but
available, of course, yeah.
yeah, the PNID modeler is still not it is on its way to be on the European server, but not yet. And
yeah,
one
and
more.
it will just work for Revit 2021.
Yes.
On the EU server. Yeah.
Exactly. And one thing, maybe one last thing on this, on the server location, it helps a lot for all the countries who are on GDPR compliance regulation. So that's the main point. All right, you can move forward, Martin, or you want to add something?
No, I just want to say that I don't expect, from the performance point of view, that EU is much faster than US, even if you're staying in EU, because the server-to-server communication is usually extremely fast. The bottleneck is usually the access of the users to the internet.
Yeah, correct. Thanks, Martin. So now let's come to the topic of today's virtual meetup. So what is better, Revit or Plant 3D? So definitively, it's not the good question. In reality, there is no real answer to that, and both are two different products doing different things, but doing also the same thing, and both have strengths and both have some very good use case. So we will try to explore a little bit both products on the plant side of things. We will see some clear difference between those products, and we will also see some gaps which might be filled by either of the other solution or some third application and some custom development. So if you move to the next slide, Martin, so you can see here, it's a bit what Plant 3D can do. So it's what we could say the spin of Plant 3D. So most of you already know this. It's just to compare with the next slide with Revit. However, you can see that it's spec driven. AutoCAD Plant 3D has the ability, as soon as we created the catalog and then we put that catalog into the specification, we can use that in the Plant 3D, in the 3D, to drive the part selection. And from that, we will generate orthos, bill of materials, isometrics. So I mean, that's the main thing that Plant 3D does, and it does a lot of other stuff, but that's the main spin, I would say. If you move to the next slide, you can see now what Revit does, and same here. It's really in a nutshell, because Revit does a lot. And here it's just to tell to some of you who don't really know Revit, that Revit is a building-oriented solution. Okay, so it's mainly for building at the beginning. However, now we can do a lot with Revit. So we used to have 3 different flavors of Revit, and since Revit 2016, we have the ability to have one single Revit, aggregating architecture, structure, and MEP. So it's the Revit one box, and so Revit itself is a database. It's a BIM product. So when you design something, you will have a lot of information behind that thing. It's parametric. All the objects are almost parametric, especially families, views as well. Everything is parametric. It's also in the latest release 2021, we have the generative design feature embedded into Revit itself. So that's really interesting, especially for architects. And it addresses, as I said, the three main areas, so architecture, structure, and MEP. The file format is mentioned below. So for the template, it's .rte. For family template, is RRFT. Revit project, RVT, and families, RFA. So you have the breakdown structure of a typical project. So you can imagine on the top, it's a central file, central model, where you will have links file, so architecture, structure, MEP, and then you will have deliverables like lists, schedules, sheets, so drawings, including views and other elements. So that's briefly what Revit does as a design software. So now, if you move to the next slide, Martin. So now, if we think about Revit in a plant project environment, and what's the value of having Revit, I would say Revit has its main strength on the building side. It will be really helpful for a plant project, especially when you have a building element of the project, a building part of the project. So let's say it's a piping station. The piping station needs to be into walls and roof and overall structure. So this building, we can very efficiently use Revit in coordination with plant to build that building itself. So for all the concrete design, formwork and rebars, it will be a very good tool, Revit itself. Also for some part of the plant design itself, so like cable trays, all the HVAC units, the ducts, some plumbing, services systems, and the pipes, we can use Revit as well. And you can see, you can even bring your plant project into Revit. So we have the ability to export an AutoCAD plant project to Revit to bring even the pipes, the process pipes into Revit. The main information is the aggregated data. We will use Navisworks for that. So Revit and plant works well together, especially if you add Navisworks on top of those. So that's the main information here. And if you move to the next slide, Martin, here it's just to tell you and to mention that Revit and plant are both compatible with the reality capture solution we have at Autodesk, which is Recap. And I think it's a video. You can start it, Martin, by clicking on it, and you know both have the ability to work with Recap. So you can basically superimpose a Revit project or a plant 3D project on an as-built scan model. So you can do construction comparison with this possibility using Revit and plant. And both, you can do reverse engineering, quality control, and even advanced workflow like virtual reality and augmented reality. So that's the main point of that slide. Just remind well that Revit and plant are both working with the point cloud and photogrammetry technology, and with Recap in particular. So you don't need to choose if you need to take Revit or plant for such technology. Now, in terms of storage in the cloud and the usage of the power of the cloud for project access and project team constitution. So we have Revit, which is the first design tool, I would say, who was supported with the BIM 360 platform. And so since 2018.3 release of Revit, it's compatible with BIM 360 docs. So we have the ability to use Revit since few releases with BIM 360 docs and Plant 3D since the recent release, which has been released recently, so 2021. So you basically can if you use Revit, the latest release of Revit today and the latest release of AutoCAD Plant 3D, you will basically have the same repository platform. And furthermore, it will be the same collaboration platform. For collaboration itself, we had our last month virtual meetup recorded, and the presentation also is there. And you have the link at the bottom right there if you want to access to the previous session. So if you move to the next slide here, it's a bit of information about the PNID connector for Revit. So since 2018 of Revit, and now with 2021 of Plant 3D, so you have the ability to share basically a PNID. Okay, so this has been reactivated with Revit users. So if you have users having AutoCAD PNID and you have other users having Revit, basically they can pursue the work which has been done in AutoCAD PNID into Revit. So in PNID, you do, of course, all the schematic, and you can use it as it is in the 3D for Revit. So you can basically map all the catalogs and spec into AutoCAD PNID with the Revit services into Revit MEP. It's the MEP part of Revit. So it needs a bit of preparation, and you have a lot of mapping to prepare that work, but then it works. So this has been reactivated since 2021, and you can use it basically straight away now. So if you move to the next slide, Martin.
Yeah, just one comment. So this PNID connector, it's also called the PNID modeler for Revit. It helps in Revit the designer to create the piping and to validate the piping. So to make sure that everything that's on the schematics will be also placed in the 3D model. Just as a comment how this works.
Yeah, thanks. And I've added some slides about that at the end. You will see. Okay. And now, if you come back to the next slide, to the last slide, Martin, there might be a question. So when to use which tool? So that's one of the questions we receive a lot. So if you go forward one slide, Martin. So when to use which tool? As I said, this is a common question, and there is no common answer, because if you look at the next slide, you will see that there are some very clear areas where you will use Revit, and some very clear area where you will use Plant 3D. And then you have some environments, especially on the industry, where you can basically use both, and you can even use both together and efficiently. So you can see, as soon as you go far on the pipe complexity, when I say pipe complexity, is also the pipe constraint, so high pressure pipe, I would say process environment, like in the nuclear industry or the oil and gas, or power generation. When I say power generation, it's really the process part of this, especially for gas turbine project and so on and so forth. You will tend more to use Plant 3D because of its catalog and spec, and we will see the list of that later. And for Revit, if you are using less piping complexity, and you need less piping fabrication capabilities, I would say, because of the isometrics, you can go with Revit correctly. So let's say, for example, a building or a hospital or any vertical beam project which doesn't require too much process piping with high piping complexity. So you basically that's how we could define where we could place those two solutions. But as I said, there is not a strict answer to that. We could see a lot of very interesting workflows and scenarios, and this is where we will call for this for you guys later on, and we will talk about that later. So if you move next, so then pros and cons of each and why they add value. So why using Plant 3D adds value? So basically, you see on the right side, we put a link of a productivity study showing the value of using AutoCAD PNID, Process and Instrumentation Diagram. So the average win of efficiency is 42%. So you can imagine in terms of productivity and time saving, what you can save using AutoCAD PNID compared to, let's say, an AutoCAD normal or a design tool, which is purely drawing tool, no BIM tool. So this is a very interesting productivity study. You can access to that. And basically, PNID is a spec-driven design. Plant 3D itself is a spec-driven design using the spec and the catalog that we create into the PNID, then to the 3D. It's a very quick and intelligent product. It contains a lot of elements from the industry standards. You have validation tools, so you can validate what you do. You can use, as we said, the latest connection between Revit and PNID to streamline the process and take benefit from Revit. And it's very intuitive and it's rapid in terms of modeling. The equipment have templates. You can build the equipments by your own, or you can import equipments, and these are parametrics. It supports the structural modeling with industry standards. You have a very strong workflow between AutoCAD Plant and Advanced Skill for detailing, fabrication, and fabrication. You can also import from Inventor. So AutoCAD Plant is well connected with different products, which can bring a lot of value also in your project, not only for sharing design or sharing models, but also to bring its own capabilities. Of course, the automatic extraction of isometrics, either isometrics or PCF files, so you can do both together as well using the isometric engine of AutoCAD Plant. And you can also create any type of reports using a free tool coming with AutoCAD Plant on install. So the report creator, you can generate any type of report. You can save this report as template. You can reuse it. And you can even use these reports with the new features, the new collaboration features using BIM 360 design and collaboration for Plant. So that brings a lot of value for people who are in the field who need to receive reports on site. And now if we talk about Revit values, so Revit has a lot of values, especially for each trade. We have Revit users doing only structure. We have Revit users doing only architecture. And here we will talk more about what could be the value for a plant project. So for those who don't really know Revit, Revit is a fully integrated parametric solution which enable computational design, and more recently even generative design. We saw some first iteration of generative design into Revit for the architecture side, because in manufacturing we also have other workflow using other products. But Revit was one of the first on that. It has an embedded Dynamo player, and since 2021, we have a generative design tool within Revit itself. So the fact that this product is a high parametric design product, you minimize a lot consuming tasks during the design, detailing, and even analysis. So you have a bunch of analysis features depending of any feature you want to use, either if it's on the MEP side or structural side. You have a lot of analysis capabilities. We will see some of those later. And Revit includes by default, out of the box, a lot of content you can download. Also external content from Autodesk itself, from the Exchange app, or from suppliers themselves. And those libraries are usually families, parametric families for architecture, structure, MEP. When I say MEP also is large. It's mechanical, electricity, and plumbing. So it includes all the HVAC systems, all the plumbing system, plumbing fixtures of you can find in buildings, hospitals. I mean, it's really huge. And you have also a customizable capability into Revit using an embedded macro player. And as I said, it was one of the first products with a full interoperability with BIM 360 docs. And you can also publish directly from Revit into BIM 360 design. And you can integrate third-party format, DWGs, IFCs, PDFs. Other Revit has links, a bit like you do usually with the Xrefs into AutoCAD or AutoCAD Plant. And you have the ability to export a lot of quantities, you can do schedules, and you can either also connect to external databases. If it's a SQL Server database or Access, you can connect, you can export basically an entire Revit project very easily using the DB link capability. It also have native rendering features, and you can monitor the level of details within the project in real time. So these are some values. It's not all of the values, but these are some values that you can use in a plant project. Some of those are not used currently, like generative design, but we see already people thinking on using generative design for plant projects. So now, when we talk about Revit and Plant 3D together, how it can bring value together. Usually it's for multidisciplinary projects, and I mean, when I say disciplinary, is you need to have like a building or a vertical modeling requirement within your project to use mainly Revit, and then you will have all these equipment and piping requirement and deliverable requirement that will lead you to use Plant 3D. And it's not only those two products, because we can also use other products, other Autodesk product very efficiently here. And here I listed some examples. So for conceptual modeling and visualization, Revit and InfraWorks can be very efficiently used for a plant project. For piping and instrumentation, of course, schematics and diagrams, we will use PNID feature, which is part of Plant 3D now. For equipment detailing, we can use Plant 3D, but the detailing itself, we will use more or less Inventor. It's a very powerful product for this equipment detailing. For the structural elements of a plant project, and structure is large. I mean, it includes a lot of elements and in a lot of dimensions. So you can have the pipeways, you can have the platform, the podiums, you can have the supports of these pipes, the support of the equipment, and you have the overall structure of the plant units itself. So for these, we can heavily leverage Advanced Skill and Revit. And for general arrangement and pipe models, I would say pipe general models and our orthographic views, we will remain on Plant 3D, or we can also use Revit. We can use also Revit for that. For concrete structures and slabs, which fail a bit into structural elements as well, we will use Revit. And for the analysis and the compliancy of this structure, we can use robot structural analysis. And the bottom line is for coordinating all this, you can use very efficiently Navisworks for clash detection and for other stuff Navisworks. And for clash detection, we can use also more recently BIM 360 Coordinate, either with Revit or Plant. It works very well. And for visualization and animation, if you want to present your project, we have the ability, you can use Navisworks again with the timeliner. You can also use InfraWorks and 3ds Max. You can see I've put two links on the right side. It's the ID Station link. ID Station is part of the Autodesk forum, and ID Station, you can raise an enhancement request usually using ID Station, or if you think that something is missing, for example, just to give you an example, cable trays within Plant 3D, we had a lot of ID which has been submitted into ID Station for cable trays within Plant. And we will talk about that now. But yeah, these links might be useful for you if you want to escalate that. And also, if you want to discuss your current workflow you are using, or if you want to get more feedback on what you are doing from additional users from the Plant 3D or Revit community, you can use the forum, the general forum of Autodesk, which is part of the ID Station here. Yeah, Martin, you want to speak?
Yeah, some comments here for the coordination on BIM 360. So, as you know, your live models, they are in the project files area of BIM 360 docs, but the BIM 360 coordination takes place in the plans area of BIM 360 docs. So the question is how to move the files over and to do the, for example, clash detection between Revit and Plant 3D. And apart from some changes in the software, which I will not talk about, that will be coming soon, the current workflow, which is, I think it's a really good one, is to use the review function of BIM 360 to create a final review on your design before you publish it into the clash detection. So, for example, in Plant 3D, you want to unhide you want to make sure that you did unhide parts of the model, so you can see everything. Everything will be included in the clash detection, everything in your model. So you need to verify this. You can do it in the review. And then you can also check, for example, if the steel representation is the correct one that you need to do a clash detection, and how you want to make it display on BIM 360. And then when you approved it, this workflow, and if it's set up like this, then the file will be automatically copied over on the cloud from the project files into the plans file. So this is one comment. The other comment is because there was a question like how can we, so let me read this question from Stephen. When both Revit and Plan 3D models are residing in the same BIM 360 hub, could you please walk us through the workflow and recommended process in BIM 360 to reference the Revit model to a Plan 3D model? So the quick answer here is the desktop connector. So what you still will need to do is you will need to export DWG files from your Revit model and store them on BIM 360 with the use of the desktop connector. There will be a folder where you put these exports. Then these exports you can consume via the desktop connector in your Plan 3D model. So either you do it temporarily, that means because the desktop connector out of the box has a user containing paths, it will not work for everyone. So you could either work temporarily with these files exrefed from the desktop connector, or you generalize the desktop connector path. So you create a shortcut for all the project users. Let's say I wrote an article, and it will be coming with the Q&A, the link to this article, where after you did generalize this path, you can also save your XREFs coming from the desktop connector into your model, and they will be available for the other users as well, just as a quick note here.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for already replying to that question, Martin. If there are any other question, let me know, because me, I cannot.
Yes, actually there are. There are more questions and very interesting ones. Sorry?
Okay. Yeah. So it's up to you if you want to read it, or we can pursue the presentation. It's up to you. Let's finish some, because we are not far to the end.
Yes, and I will think about those questions are kind of not so easy, the ones that will be coming. So I will think about it while you continue the presentation.
So basically, there are some. If you just come back very quickly to the last slide, Martin, there are some areas where we have a lot of requests and enhancement requests, and some workflow detailing requests as well. It's on the piping and plumbing and all what is required in the electrical part of things into either Revit or AutoCAD Plan. And for this, I just want to mention that we saw a lot of different ways to proceed, because the fact that you have the ability to use Revit MEP, you have the ability to use AutoCAD. Also, some are using AutoCAD MEP, AutoCAD electrical, plant, also how to integrate all of these things. And we saw very interesting workflows from users themselves. Okay, there is not a single way to proceed. You can use very efficiently Revit for all the MEP side of things, and you can then aggregate this into a plant project using Navisworks. So that's the most easier way to respond to that, I would say. If you move to the next slide, there are just few slides showing the value of AutoCAD MEP, but very quickly. So for those who don't really know Revit and what Revit can bring in terms of pipes functionalities and design, and also ducts, and it goes even beyond for ducts into fabrication. So you can basically connect to a fabrication capability. you can export a job directly from Revit to a machine which will create the fabrication part. So that's something you need to know. And for the pipe themselves into Revit, you have a lot also of analysis features into Revit. So it's not only pipes like pipe design and specification and you also have a lot of information about the flow. You can calculate the pressure loss. You can export information about how the velocity of or the pressure of this pipe of this liquid into these pipes will behave. So Revit also is a bit very mature in terms of pipe systems monitoring into a project. However, as I said at the beginning, it's mainly done for let's say buildings. That's buildings or hospitals. That's the main targeted application for Revit users. However, as I said, and I repeat that, we saw a lot of different workflows, and we saw like chemical units done in Revit. So I already saw that, and I need to acknowledge that I saw some users using Revit for such phases. It's not common, it's very rare. We will have more people using AutoCAD plant, especially for the isometrics and this kind of auto extraction capabilities. But this is something you need to know. We can do a lot of very interesting workflow as soon as we are curious and we want to test. If you move to the next slide, it's just about the analysis features of Revit MEP. It has integrated systems analysis, and this also transforms the way you think about the energy side of a building or hospital. So this is something people who don't use Revit needs to know. So you can have a complete summary of the energy efficiency of your building as soon as you followed the correct steps on your design. So assigning spaces, rooms, assigning the quantity of energy for for heating and cooling, and then you will be able to have a very interesting analysis and analysis reports into Revit. So if you move, Martin, this slide is about the PNID modeler. So as I said, it was there, but not on docs. Now it's basically on docs, and it replaced what it used to be on TIM previously. And basically, you can use PNIDs into Revit directly, and you can even monitor the progress using color codes, so that you ensure that everything is positioned at the right way, at the right location. So it's a bit of a spec-driven workflow as well here. We have between PNID and Revit using the PNID modeler. However, what you need to know, we used to have the isometric in the cloud capabilities. This is still not yet here. So we cannot export or generate isometric directly from Revit. We used to have that possibility previously, then it has been put on hold, and now we have the PNID modeler back, and we still not have the isometric in the cloud. So this is something you need to know. And here it's a bit a summary and overview of all the products you can use in all these platforms, especially docs. So you can see at we've put AutoCAD Plant 3D we've put AutoCAD Plant 3D at the middle, at the center of this slide, and you have Revit as well. And this is just a brief summary of all the products that you can very efficiently use. Look, we have added Civil 3D. You can use Civil 3D as well in a plant project for the context and the master planning. And you can aggregate all these models, either if it's a Civil 3D, if it's an Inventor, a Revit, an AutoCAD plant, you can aggregate all these design into one single coordinated model into Navisworks. And you can even use this as well into InfraWorks, and you can also visualize it into 3ds Max. So this is something that we saw many times done by our customers. So if you move, this is more the value of Navisworks. So of course, aggregating the data, as I just mentioned. So you can keep Revit and AutoCAD plant fully coordinated into Navisworks. You can run clash detections, you can do visual scheduling of the construction using the timeliner, and you can even connect to an external database. So very quickly, how to upskill yourself. What's next? We've put a set of videos. So for Plant 3D, we already mentioned that recently. So it's Plant 3D with the experts. So this is something new, and you have to look at this if you didn't have a look at. And on the next slide, we've put also some information about how to be trained into Revit. Revit is huge in terms of content. You have a lot of AU classes. We'll put the link to the AU classes. You have the Autodesk Design Academy, where you can learn by yourself Revit and any other product as well. And I've put also the YouTube channel and a lot of Autodesk screencast recorded by industry experts. So maybe, yeah, here you have BIM 360 and the Customer Success Learning Hub. Again, resources. Just navigate into that and download and register yourself for any interesting session for you. You can also subscribe to the health dashboard, especially since we have collaboration for plant listed there as well. So we strongly recommend you.
Yeah, that's true. It's important because sometimes there will be 1 or 2 hours maintenance on the weekends, and then you shouldn't, while these maintenance, you shouldn't work on a Plant 3D collaboration project. So it's good to know about these maintenance hours when they take place.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think we are almost done. You can unmute, I think, Martin, and let's discuss with everyone now. Or if you want to read.
Sorry, Nabil, I cannot hear you anymore, and that's what happened when I tried to unmute everyone. So there was another question, Nabil. Can you talk?
Yes, I'm here. I'm back. Yeah. You can read the question basically. Yeah.
Yes. So there was one question, but this we might need to take offline. It's how do the coordinates between Plant 3D and Revit align when you coordinate them in model coordination?
Mm-hmm.
If they are not the same, so I read it like this: if they are not the same in the same space. So yeah, this is something. So if the question, well, so that's coming from Neil. Maybe I will be able to unmute Neil.
Yeah.
I actually trying to unmute all of you. Which which is also not such a good idea. Then we get this background noise. Okay, Neil. I did unmute you. Maybe Yeah, hi. So are you asking for how to coordinate or how the models will stick together when they have different coordinates? Is this the question?
We find issues sometimes between Plant 3D models and Revit models when we try and share the coordinates. When we bring the DWG plant model in to model coordinate and a Revit file for the concrete structure, they're like 33 kilometers apart in space and they don't line up. So we were struggling to try and find a way of getting shared coordinates to work. We found that a bit of trouble.
Okay.
Just thought if you had a better way of doing it.
I see. So is it also connected to metric and imperial models, or is it? Are you working with the same?
No, metric. Keep it all metric.
It's all metric, and still you have these problems. Yeah, maybe you are working in different coordinate systems on both, and you are asking like how to correct this to use them in BIM coordinate, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So yeah, let's. So there will be with the recording link and everything, there will be a Excel file also coming that gives answers to these questions. So I cannot directly answer this question. We need to take it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. All right, so there's another one. And this one is coming from Steven, and he's asking, last time I looked at Robot, it did not handle the offshore design codes we typically use in the industry. Have these been added now? We use Start Pro for structural analysis for this reason. Okay, yeah, this is a question we need to also take it offline and transfer it to our robot specialists.
Yeah, exactly. For the available codes, we can come back to you, Stephen, with a clear answer.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there will be a Q&A, Excel or PDF. There also we will, for the whole audience, give answers to these questions. Okay, let me open the microphones. So I'm always struggling a bit here because it just doesn't do it. Okay, so I need to do it one by one. And then you could ask questions if you want. So I'm unmuting you now, or all the attendees. And if one of you wants to ask a question, you can do it now. So yeah, are there any questions? Okay, there was something coming in through the panel. Let's see. That was a robot question here. Another robot advanced steel question. Let's have a look at this one. Does robot steel analysis and advanced steel has ocean marine wave force application? Yeah, so another question that doesn't fully align to the topic of today, but okay, we will look for answers. And there was another question if BIM 360 coordination can display the properties of components, and I think yes. I totally think yes. So Stephen, let me check if you are unmuted. Did you have any problems with this, or is it just a general question without having tested it in coordination before? So I think all the properties in. All right, you don't have a microphone. So in BIM 360 docs, you can see all the properties from Plant 3D, and I'm pretty sure you can also see them in the coordination area. But yes, we can finally. Okay, just a general question. Yeah, I'm totally confident that you can see that, but I will have a confirmation look and before we and answer in the handout as well. So if anyone wants to talk and cannot talk, please tell me. Then I will take another look at the microphones or at the mute status here. Okay, so there was a question. There's another question coming in from Hans, and he's asking. You were also talking about AutoCAD electrical. What will be the link to that? So, Nabil, maybe this is going into your direction. Nabil, can you still?
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yeah, there is a lot of background, and background noise. Maybe you can try to find.
Yeah, I think I found it already, so should be fine, kind of.
Yeah.
So the question was if how AutoCAD electrical links to all of what we were.
Yeah.
So you were presenting.
So unfortunately, AutoCAD electrical will not connect to PNIDs for the implementation diagrams, for example. However, AutoCAD electrical will bring the capability to do all the electrical drawings and sheet necessary for a plant project, for the power lower or high voltage demand for the project itself. So we can bring AutoCAD electrical here with all the settled template and all the tools related to electrical drawings itself. So if that does it answer your question? I can't see the response, Martin. So if you can just check.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Not in total, but for now it's okay. Thank you, Hans, for the question. So, and of course, electrical can also upload models to BIM 360 docs via a desktop connector, so you can open and save to BIM 360 docs from electrical. Maybe that was the connection to this presentation, where yeah, it can be used on the files can be used on the project. The layouts will be extracted in the plan section of BIM 360 docs. That will make also collaboration help in the collaboration. So there is a new question, this time coming from Hakan, and he's asking regarding Plant 3D.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hi,
okay.
Hakan.
I have tried to. Yes. Hi. I have tried to share or upload projects to BIM 360. But it doesn't work, or it stops. The upload or share process stops, never ends.
Are you on the EU? I see. Are you on the EU server or on the US server?
I am probably on the US server because I can't see .eu okay. in the web.
Is it
and also
how big is the project?
Oh, it's not so big.
It's not big. Okay. No,
it's like a couple of hundred DWGs.
No, that should definitely work. So you should raise support case. We are very interested, especially in such problems, because our development wants totally ensure that this always works. And I cannot tell you, of course, now what the issue here
and
is.
also a question regarding XREFs. If you have XREFs, could that be a problem, or should it work?
When you mean when uploading
Yeah, yes. In the Plant 3D project, if you are working with XREFs between folders in the project structure.
No, of course, Plant 3D on BIM 360 totally supports XREFs. Just a recommendation is, first of all, use the attach button in which is a special button for the collaboration.
Yes, I know, but if you have an old project,
I see. When you upload it, you mean?
Yes, and you have XREFs. Maybe that is an issue because you share a project that is not have not been in BIM 360.
Well, if the links are going outside of the project, that could be an issue. If you want to upload it, that could be one thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm testing to understand how it works. So, but I will try to raise this issue I have with not able to upload it or share to BIM 360.
Yeah, I would raise a support case and investigate it.
How do I do that to raise the support case?
So depending on what your connection to Autodesk is, you will have access to accounts.autodesk or manage.autodesk.com, and there you find under the question mark on the right top review my support cases, but this depends on your contract. Well, if you don't have it, you can go to the forums. If you don't have this kind of support, you can go to the forums, raise the question there.
Okay.
Generally, you might be right with the XREFs. That could be a problem, but also it could be, for example, if you have your project has references to the ISOs, but you deleted the ISOs. You know what I mean? So in the project manager, you still have references to ISOs, but you deleted these ISOs. Or not just talking about ISOs, talking about project files in general. If you have project files in your project manager displayed, but the actual file is missing, so that could be also a reason for not uploading.
Okay, I will do some more tests and then try to raise some support case.
Yeah, and when you do the test, please take screenshot of all the steps and the errors, especially the error message you get, and so that you can add it to your support case. And if you can the support, you can ping me directly. I can try to check what's your support channel for you.
And okay, and the name is Nadim. Where?
Yes.
More?
Yeah.
Can I find the name somewhere?
If you go if you download the slides later on the customer success page, you can have access to the slide, and the first slide you can see my email address here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
All right. Thank you for the question. So we have more questions. We have Herman asking, will there be a possibility to import Plant 3D drawing into Revit with all the metadata and possibly to modify the single objects if needed? So the question here, unfortunately, is no. Right now, there is no plan to create such an import. And yeah, if you are a developer, I would say, which is of course unlikely, then you could. So my recommendation, if you're a developer, my recommendation would be to use the PCF format to exchange piping between Plant 3D and Revit, because this is maybe the simplest way to get the information over. And of course, this would, in this case, we would work with Revit families and Plant 3D specs separately. So to get a total import of Plant 3D drawings together with the specs and convert it into families, all this happening at the same time. So this is absolutely not on the roadmap right now. And I'm looking if Herman wants to. Herman, do you want to add something to the question?
No, it's fine from my side. We just have mostly the issue that clients want to have Revit project files, and we cannot deliver it with Plan 3D.
Yes, I understand, and we hear this very often that there's a misalignment in the project, or there's a demand for Plan 3D where you have Revit, or where demand for Revit where you have Plan 3D, and you're asking yourself, can I just import it? But no, it's really not. The feature is really not there, and it's not on the roadmap right now. So I would recommend to take, if possible, of course it's not always possible, take care when you start a project that the parties working on the projects are aligned on the softwares, and that the expectations are set, that all the project participants know what they can do with what software and what will be delivered. And probably it's not really necessary to bring everything into one application. You can report from various applications, bring it together. For example, talking about Assemble as an Autodesk product that can bring different formats together in regards of reporting. So there are many ways to deal with it other than importing from one application into the other, and that's right now the recommendation. So of course we also would like to have it, but it's a big task to create such imports, to create such interoperability between Plan 3D and Revit, and this task is right now not on the roadmap, might change in the future. And there is another question. So Herman, was that
Yes, this is
enough
okay.
information? All right, thank you. So we have another question for a future question. I want to ask you about the future of this, coming from Stepan. I want to ask you about the future of Plan 3D, because I think that lately Autodesk developed more things for Revit than Plan 3D. Do you think that Autodesk will move Plan 3D into Revit with ISO, P&ID? Again, right now, there is not such a plan. I think in Revit we'll get more MEP features, more advanced piping features, and I guess that will be the fabrication piping that will be getting more advanced. But when talking about Revit with ISOs, well, there is, and we can put it into the handout, there is some trick where you can get PCF files from Revit. So with PCF files you can create ISOs. Again, this is just related to fabrication piping. We can put this into the handout, but so the big advanced, or the merge of the softwares as you formulated, that's not gonna happen. That's not expected. So Revit will be Revit and Plant will be Plant, and Revit could get more. So you are right, there is more development power on Revit rather than on Plant 3D. So there could be more, but it's not like that one thing has to do with the other. So Plant 3D will be developed, Revit will be developed, but not merged into one product or something. That's not a plan that. And I recently updated myself on this. It's not a plan that I ever heard about. So if this answers your question, Stepan, maybe you can.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Hello. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, Stepan. We hear you. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. The answer is for me. Good. Yeah, because
All
I'm
right,
the big fan of Plan 3D, and I'm afraid of let's say cancel that platform.
Yeah, I would be also afraid if there would be such plans, because I'm supporting Plan 3D and I also like it. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah,
So one last question, and this coming from Hartmut. Is the PCA, he's saying that the PCF does not support piping supports. Well, that's true. So I was mentioning PCF as a possible exchange format for piping between Plant3D and Revit in the case you are a developer and want to develop something. That would be my recommendation. He's saying that, Hartmut is saying that this PCF format would not support piping supports. That yeah, probably you're right with this. I mean, there are different PCF formats. I think in our PCF formats there will be piping supports as far as I know, but anyway, and equipments are also not supported, so this would also not be the total solution for everything, even if this would exist already. No, it was just a side note. It's nothing you need to remember if you, well, unless you are a developer and having plans to create your own tools for pipe exchange between Revit and Plant3D. All right, so Hartmut, was that communicated okay? Let me check if Hartmut is still there. Yeah, and maybe he's muted. Problems. Oh, he's.
Servus Martin, yeah. Alles klar.
All right, thank you, Hartmut. And yeah, I think Nabil, do you want to add anything?
No, I don't want to add anything. Maybe just a reminder that just to always make sure to see before when you face limitation, before developing something, maybe have a look at the Exchange app, because we have a lot of third-party tools which might help there. And I think that's it. So yeah. Thanks a lot, Martin. Thanks everyone. Yeah.
Very good remark. Yeah, I also thank you everyone for joining the session. And again, with the handout of this session, with the recording, there will be also answers to the question in a written form handed out. So thanks very much. Have a good day, and hopefully see you next time again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.